Yo, welcome back to another Sparking Zero video, and in today's video I'm gonna just be talking, ranting about how people are really hating on Dragon Ball Sparking Zero a little bit too much. Now I understand like the state of the game is not the best right now, but there's just too much complaints in just areas where I just seem like it's just annoying. Like hearing people constantly talk about like, this game's dead, losing players back to back, like no one plays this game. Like what? Like I just completely don't understand why people can just keep on saying that. Like, I get that this game didn't live up to expectations in terms of like maps or characters, but you know, people still play the game a lot, and I understand that a lot of people just don't like the game because it's missing those things, and it's honestly just an annoying statement that people just keep using over and over again to just prove some type of point. Now I want to play a couple clips from a YouTuber named Slow Plays. He's a pretty cool YouTuber. He covers a whole bunch of variety of different Dragon Ball content, just anime content in general. And I'm gonna show y'all his thoughts on the matter, and I'm gonna come back to my thoughts on what he said.
We wanted to make this for the Tenkaichi fans, right? Makes sense, right? This is what a lot of people wanted. They wanted the game to be broken as fuck, like the original games were, right? So then when it actually came to a PvP aspect, which these old games did not have, they were like, oh shit, we fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, this isn't going to work with PvP with an online community because, you know, you can't, there's no variety anymore. You can't use, you know, fucking Chaozu, right? Or something like that. The game was at launch, it was a pretty broken mess, right? So I get that, right? I get that. But after these changes finally got made recently, and they made the disparity a lot, you know, less ridiculous, right? There were people that were not happy with those changes. And again, I don't think it's the same people. It's just the other side of the community that wanted to keep it as like an unbalanced mess. They're like, no, it's shit. Now these people cried about it, you know, and then they got their changes and stuff. So it's like, no matter what these devs do, I don't think people are going to be happy. There might be some people that are satisfied with it, but then there's going to be other, you know, half of the community that is just like, this is fucking horrible. Like, why would you change the whole point of the Tenkaichi series? You know what I mean? And I understand. I get it. I'm trying to see all the different perspectives, but it's just, you get to a point where you're just like, oh my God, dude, I'm so fucking tired of this shit. Like, I'm just tired of nobody ever being happy about anything, right? And that's not no toxic positivity or anything, right? That's just like, do you guys understand how frustrating it is whenever you want to play a game or enjoy something and you got a bitch in your ear telling you it's garbage, it's shit, like constantly over and over and over and over, and then these people in the community who are just being extremely fucking toxic, the way that they play or the way that they're, you know, just shitting on the game or whatever it may be, right?
So he just went over a variety of good points there. You know, shout out to Slow, you know, YouTuber statements so far. But he just went over a variety of different points that I feel like that was really important to you know, hear. Let's start with one of his first points, is the community, right? The Dragon Ball Sparking Zero community has been, you know, I would say one of the most, not completely toxic communities I've known so far, but it's definitely really up there with like a lot of other communities that are like not the best, right? And I feel like this mainly stems from, like, I would say maybe the player base, like the way how people view winning in this game, or the way how people want to just be the best Sparking creator, or best 1v1, or best, you know, whatever player known to man in this game, right? And I think that just comes with just game, like fighting games specifically overall. You're gonna have those people that want to be the best and only the best, regardless of what they have to do to be the best, right? And I mean, that's fair enough. If you want to be like that, you want to have that mindset, you want to have that play style, you want to have that whatever it may be, right? You're more than welcome to do that. But I feel like in the Sparking community in general, that is like amplified by like 100 times fold, right? Like, you have everyone in the community that wants to be the best, and everyone in the community that will try to be the best, to stoop to any level to be the best in the game, which causes a lot of people to act certain ways, or just be, you know, be toxic for no reason, no quote unquote apparent reason, just over Sparking Zero, right? And you know, that's annoying. Another one of those points was how broken the game was at release. You know, a lot of people wanted sparking to be just like how BT3 was, how at least every character in BT3 or just the characters in general was pretty overpowered in the game. If you had like really strong characters in BT3, you know, the characters overall would be busted, right? And people wanted that broken change to stay in sparking. But as we know, you know, Sparking Zero on base release of the game was broken. There was, you know, the infinite key, the key stuff that you can do when you go in sparking mode. You know, all the key, like the loops, the resets. You know, the resets was actually infinite. I believe in that game, infinite leg sweeps, no like stun time, no none of that, right? It was 10 times worse. And if we were able to do all the stuff we were doing now back then, there was no way out, right? So there was way more just, you know, broken stuff way in the beginning of the game, but then people complained about that, and the game changed, it updated, and I would say for the better personally. But a lot of people didn't really like those changes, mainly because it's supposed to be a quote unquote broken game, right? And I feel like the developers of Sparking Zero, right, or just in general, I feel like developers overall, but mainly with Sparking, they really can't really make the community happy, because anything that they change that the community asks for, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You can do X, Y, Z for the community, and whatever they say that they did for the game is never going to be enough for the community. Specifically the Sparking Zero community, there's always going to be something that someone wants changed, that someone wants buffed, or that someone doesn't want anything changed because of how broken it was or is at whatever state the sparking is at the moment. But there are things that in the game that should be the game, like more costumes should be available. I should be able to play with costumes. Well, I feel like it will be easier for costumes in Sparking to be used if they had the costumes like preset for like every character. Like I can use Saiyan armor on all Saiyans, or I can use Goku Gi on all Saiyans, or specifically Goku family, or whatever the case is, right? You know, I feel like if you're gonna have a costume slot, at least have a variety of different costumes. And I feel like that's fair complaints. Like people who talk about the game not having maps or costumes, you know, even though the previous game didn't really have, like BT3 didn't really have too many costumes to begin with. You know, it had a couple of costumes, but it wasn't like a crazy amount, right? But I do think that the game does need, you know, like at least a couple maps, in comparison to like other games like BT3. Like that game had a variety of different maps, like Xenoverse. If you just include all the maps from Xenoverse, that would be amazing, you know. And I feel like they will in the future, but it shouldn't take this long for them to actually implement this, because there does need to be some type of implementation of something, because after DLC 3, there isn't really much to really talk about in terms of like new content or new updates, besides stuff like maps, costumes, and old characters that could be brought up from the previous, like, you know, installments of the game. And that's pretty much all they can do after DLC 3. Now I'm going to continue showing you guys something that he also said in the video in regards to some other tweets from some other people in the I guess Sparking community.
And it's not just him, it's a lot of people. Like shout out to Dion, because he said this, right? This was a while back, but he said every community had annoying motherfuckers, but Sparking takes the cake, okay? People's whole personality is being good at Sparking Zero. My bad for playing other games, doing other shit, and not dedicating my life to the game like you. Let them live in their echo chamber and feel good, right? And it's like, that's crazy, man. Like, Sparking Zero, I never really saw it as a super competitive game, and you can make it competitive. And, you know, shout outs to Rai here, because they said this, right? This is in response to a Sacred. Wait, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero lost 90% of its players in a month. Jesus Christ, right? And they said Sparking Zero isn't meant to be an ultra competitive, sweaty fighting live service game. It can be competitive, but really it's meant to be a fun arcade game that you break out and play every once in a while, right?
Now these tweets from like CVX, or this tweet from CVX actually, pretty much shows like how the Sparking Zero community is really viewed as a whole. Like in this quote, you know, it basically says like, you know, people really treat their whole personality as being good at Sparking, and that's pretty bad, because why do people in the community really feel like that the only thing that they're like, good for is just being good in sparking, and anyone else that isn't really good at sparking don't really have, like, let's say a say in anything, or at least for the majority of part, like people who think that they're the best is really all that matters when it comes to sparking zero. And I think that's stupid, right? Like, and that's the quote unquote toxic part of the community. Like, being good in the game is really all that matters to people in this community. And I mean, that's cool and all, but it doesn't have to be like that. Like, people really just force this whole like plate mindset on people, like, oh, if you ain't good at sparking zero, you ain't shit, or if you're not doing this, you're not that good. It doesn't have to be like that, like, at all. Like, even this next tweet, like, Sparking Zero isn't meant to be ultra competitive for the fighting game live service. It can be competitive, but it's really meant to be a fun arcade game that you can break out and play every once in a while. Like, this tweet in particular, like, this really encapsulate everything that I'm really thinking of. Like, Sparking Zero, or fighting games in general, right? They're not live service games to just be played every single day of every single, like, breathing, right? Like, you're not supposed to be playing Sparking Zero every single day of your life. You're supposed to be, it's a game you're supposed to just hop on, hop off, hop on, another weekend, hop off, not play every single day, and then get burnt out from playing it, and then wonder why, oh wow, this game sucks, I can't just play this game every single day of my life and just enjoy it like how I used to be enjoying it, because you obviously might get burnt out and get bored of it. And also, sparking, just like I said, fighting games in general is not meant for you to just be playing every single day of your life. Like, there's nothing, unless you're playing, like, I guess, like, maybe Tekken, where you got a variety of different things you can be doing besides just fighting, or maybe, like, Street Fighter, where you have the arcade mode, maybe more game modes can solve this issue, maybe, potentially. But I feel like even with those game modes, even with these game modes, it's not like something, fighting games in general is not something you should be playing every single day. And that's what makes it, games like sparking or fighting games in general not be as long lastingly played, because it's not meant to be played every single day. It's not a live service game. It's not something that gets updated, things change, and you get something new every single day. It's not something that's like a MMO or RPG or something like that. It's not nothing like that. It's a fighting game that you shouldn't be on every single day of your life, because if you are, you're probably going to get burnt out. You're probably going to do everything you can do in the game, and then you're just going to leave. Simple. And with it being competitive, like, I know every fighting game nowadays is probably going to be competitive, whether people like it or not. That's just how this day and age everything is viewed, because ranked is going to be in every game, every fighting game that comes, or for the most part, ranked is going to be in every fighting game, and you're just going to have to deal with people trying their best to be number one, and especially in a Dragon Ball game like this, right? Like, people have been waiting in the game to get really good at for ages, especially when it comes to Dragon Ball. When BT3, when they heard a BT3 game that came out, and it reminded people of Raging Blast 2, the old BT3 days, like, people being really good at the game. Everybody wants their shot at being the best. And that basically leads me into one of my final target points, is that people really do compare Sparking Zero to all of these other games, like, or mainly Xenoverse. I hear a lot of comparison to Sparking Zero from Xenoverse, and I don't understand why. They are two completely different games. You have Xenoverse 2, which is more friendly to all different game styles, and it got even better later on in the line. They have card games, they have raids, they have 2v2, 3v3, 1v1s. They have all the variety of different parallel quests. They have a lot of offline, online story mode, a variety of different game modes. You can create your own character in that game. You get a variety of different things that you can just generally cannot do in this type of game. Sparking Zero is nothing like Xenoverse, and it would never be anything like it. And as unfortunate as that sounds, it just cannot and would not be the game that is just like Xenoverse. And I feel like Xenoverse has spoiled a lot of people in the Dragon Ball space, because people only expect things just like how they expect things to be from Xenoverse 2. And that just sucks, because then I put every other game that comes after Xenoverse, it puts it as in a kind of pedestal, like, okay, well, is it doing this? Is it hitting that? Can I do this with this variety of game modes? If it doesn't have this, then well, what am I gonna do then, right? So it's just like you can't really beat Xenoverse in terms of how it plays, because it's obviously gonna be better since it has a more appealing gameplay loop than maybe, just the fighting aspect of just Sparking Zero. And I think that does suck for Sparking Zero people, or just Sparking Zero as a whole, because I mean, with how it released and how everyone really didn't really like how it released, and as well as the content wasn't really fulfilling to people. Like, the custom battles wasn't enough, the story mode wasn't good enough, and then people was really didn't like how unbalanced the game was. So on top of that, and then they just look at Xenoverse 2 and they just think about, wow, this game is getting a whole bunch of content. And then we look at Xenoverse, or we look at Sparking Zero, and then it was like, wow, like we don't really got nothing for Sparking Zero. Like, Sparking Zero don't got no content. It's not like you can't make your own character. It got no maps. Like what is Sparking Zero doing, man? And that's just all you're gonna hear from people nowadays. I do just want to reiterate that I understand that Sparking Zero is missing things like maps, costumes, even characters, and maybe they can add like a game mode or two that can help, make the replayability of Sparking Zero a little bit better. But I'm just really just sick and tired of just hearing people complain about the same things over and over and over and over and over again. And honestly, a lot of it is just being negative, just because people just honestly just want to be negative about Sparking Zero. It will be different if it was like actual constructive criticism, but I feel like it's just mainly just hate, just for no reason at all. And I understand that these are developers can do way better and way more for the community, and they just choose not to really relay information or feedback on whatever they got going on. And I just think that really sucks to like at least update the community in regards to like what they got planned in the future, so people can feel safe in terms of like what's going on with the game. But until they start doing that, I feel like it's gonna always be like this. And not hearing back from people, not hearing back from game developers on a game that you play a lot or is really like invested in, is really the kicker when it comes to playing games like this. So we just gotta hope and see. But thank you guys for listening to my little rant here. I hope you guys agree, or if not agree, tell me why you disagree with what I said so far. I know that Sparking Zero has been through a lot of stuff so far, and it does need to get at least some more improvement in like the maps category, the gameplay category, like in terms of like game modes maybe, and even the characters, right? Other old characters from the previous installation of the game, or even just fan favorite characters should be in the game just in general, but yeah, that's all I have to say so far. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of y'all day.